Hey guys, today's show is going to be different. I'm only really going to be talking about one thing. We just need to talk about it. I didn't include it in yesterday's show because I didn't want to do this rush job on an incredibly serious situation. I wanted to make sure we had as many facts as possible. I also want to make sure that even by accident we weren't exploiting a tragedy, which is why there are no ads on this video. And so with that said, we need to talk about the shooting that happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. As of recording this video, 17 people have died, 14 have been injured. Of those 14, 5 have life-threatening injuries. It is among the 10 deadliest mass shootings in modern US history. It is the worst school shooting since Sandy Hook. But that said, let's talk about the timeline. The shooting reportedly happened just before 3 p.m. yesterday. It reportedly started moments before the students were set to be dismissed. The gunman who, if you're new here, whenever we talk about these kind of mass shootings, I don't show faces, I don't share names. I personally just don't want to promote that garbage, but we should still discuss details so we can learn from this situation. So with that said, reportedly the gunman was a 19-year-old former student of the school. He was armed with a semi-automatic AR-15 with what police are describing as countless magazines. He first opened fire outside the school where he killed 3 people, 1 on a nearby street corner, 2 just outside the school. He then made his way inside where he opened fire on students and teachers. Reportedly a fire alarm went off right before the shots were heard inside the school. Investigators believe that he may have actually pulled the fire alarm so students would go out into the hallways, but this hasn't been fully confirmed yet. Also, according to reports, the school had actually had a fire drill earlier in the day, so many people did go into the hallways thinking it was the same thing. Others stayed in their classrooms because they thought it was weird to have another drill in the same day. Several students posted videos of the gunfire inside the school. Others called and texted loved ones. Also, on this note, and it is an aside, but I want to hit on it before we continue this conversation. To people like Mark Dice who tweeted, someone want to tell the Generation Z kids that in the event of a school shooting, they should call 911 instead of posting video of it on Snapchat, Parkland, Florida. 100% go fuck yourself right in your stupid fucking face. How dare you criticize the actions of fucking children in the midst of a school shooting? As one student even responded, by the way, as we were running for our lives, we were calling 911 to the point that they told us not to anymore. Also, you don't know how you're gonna react in a moment like that. I had a student reach out to me via Twitter in a closet. When I responded, I said, don't worry about anyone covering this story, just make sure you're safe. Meanwhile, other reporters are trying to get into that person's DM. After being evacuated, they then responded, I'm traumatized, I don't even remember tweeting you and I'm not sure why I did. And so to Mark and anyone that had the same mindset of Mark, how about you don't take a verbal shot at the kids that were actually shot at. You're disgusting. But back to the main story, the shootings happening at 253 Broward County Sheriff's Office tweets. BSO is working a developing incident regarding a report of active shooter. Here's what we know so far. Deputies are responding to reports of a shooting at Stoneman Douglas High. There are reports of victims. PIO will be on scene 3:15 p.m. As law enforcement arrives, they begin helping students flee the school. They start searching for the shooter. The shooter then reportedly fled the scene himself. He initially avoided police detection by blending in with the other students who were running away, but he luckily didn't get far because police were able to identify the shooter using the school's security cameras. And so just an hour after arriving on the scene, the police found the suspect a few miles away in a residential neighborhood. They ended up arresting him without incident. The shooter so far has been charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder, and as of recording this video, a judge has denied him bail. And since this happened yesterday, we have now learned background information. As mentioned earlier, we learned the shooter used an AR-15, which now we know ATF has confirmed the shooter legally purchased this year and passed the required background check. We also learned that the gunman had posted some disturbing images on social media, disturbing comments on Instagram and YouTube. Also, specifically regarding the comments, reportedly the FBI had been made aware of threatening comment. This thanks to 36-year-old YouTuber Ben Benight. He reportedly alerted the FBI with a screenshot. He also called their Mississippi office. The comment, which featured the shooter's name back in September, reading, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. According to Ben, they did an in-person interview with him the very next day, saying they came to my office the next morning and asked me if I knew anything about the person. I didn't. They took a copy of the screenshot and that was the last I heard from them. And in a news conference this morning, FBI Special Agent in Charge Rob Lasky spoke about this.
In 2017, the FBI received information about a comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply said, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. No other information was included with that comment, which would indicate a time, location, or the true identity of the person who made the comment. The FBI conducted database reviews, checks, but was unable to further identify the person who actually made the comment.
Although there has been criticism to the FBI's response there because the YouTube comment literally had the shooter's name on it. It's also been reported by media, and a very important note here, not confirmed by law enforcement yet, that the shooter left several other troubling comments, including, I want to shoot people with my AR-15, I want to die fighting, killing shit ton of people, I'm going to kill law enforcement one day, they go after the good people. As far as why the shooter was a former student, reportedly he was expelled from the high school for disciplinary reasons last year. That said, there aren't confirmed details about the reason for his expulsion right now. We've also seen other students comments describing him as troubled with few friends. One student even saying, honestly, a lot of people were saying that it was going to be him. A lot of kids threw jokes around like that, saying that he was going to be the one to shoot up the school, but it turns out, you know, everyone predicted it. It's crazy. We also learned today that the shooter was a member of a white nationalist organization. They're called the Republic of Florida. They say they consider themselves a white civil rights organization fighting for white identitarian politics, adding the ultimate creation of a white ethno-state so we can be free from anti-white policies and have policies that reflect our values as white Westerners. And we know that because a captain for the Republic of Florida said ROF hosted a paramilitary training session in the Tallahassee area that he attended. He probably used that training to do what he did yesterday. Nobody I know told him to do that. He just freaked out. Adding, I know he knew full well he was joining a white separatist paramilitary proto-fascist organization. I know he knew that much. And following this situation, we're kind of seeing the same gun reform dance that we always see after something like this. Many people saying we need gun reform, and obviously here it's varying levels. You have people who are calling for a full outright ban of all guns to people just talking about mental health, access, things like that, right? And then a lot of people in the middle of that range. Then you have people on the other end of things saying more guns, that's what we actually need, because when you create gun-free zones like a school, you're actually just creating a target. And then finally you have the third group, which I personally, I will just throw this out there just for transparency's sake, I find the most infuriating. Tomi Lahrens of the world, who say that it's too soon to talk about it. I saw one of her all-encompassing tweets she put out yesterday, reading, can the left let the families grieve for even 24 hours before they push their anti-gun and anti-gun owner agenda? My goodness, this isn't about a gun, it's about another lunatic. Here's the thing, a conversation of how do we make sure less people get murdered, less children are killed, that we shouldn't be like, let's wait. Talking about how to prevent further death shouldn't be a partisan issue. One, for damn sure, if the person that shot up this school was a dreamer, was an illegal immigrant, a refugee, 100% within 24 hours, Tomi Lahren would be sounding off. Which is why, two, I think that we need to have a conversation as fast as possible no matter what. If someone shoots up a school, let's immediately talk about guns and potential solutions. If an illegal immigrant or refugee was the shooter, let's also talk about border security and immigration policy. Let's say that illegal immigrant or refugee didn't use a gun, maybe they ran people over with a van, then let's still talk about border security and immigration policy. We should be talking about any and all key aspects, contributing factors that led to the death of innocents. Why are we picking and choosing when murder matters? And I say this as someone that used to say the same thing that people I now find infuriating say of, you know, let's wait before we talk about this. No, because it just keeps happening and happening and happening, and we need to talk about solutions as fast as possible. Prevention is all about getting in front of something. The timing is incredibly important. And as far as this section, I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong, but we need to talk about solutions. That's my main point. But where I want to close this story is on people like Aaron Feist. Aaron was a football coach and a security guard at the school. He reportedly stepped in front of students and was shot shielding them from gunfire. He ended up being rushed to a hospital. He ended up dying there. A spokeswoman for the school saying he died the same way he lived. He put himself second. Also adding he was a very kind soul, a very nice man. He died a hero. That's who I want to feature and show and name in this video, not that murdering trash bag. People like Aaron Feist, people like Scott Beagle, other people's names are now coming through. This guy was a 35-year-old geography teacher. According to reports, while the shooter was active in the hallway, he unlocked the door to his room to get other students to safety. Unfortunately, before Scott was able to get back to the room, he was shot and killed. Also, I think it's incredibly important we think of, thank, and send lots of love to law enforcement and first responders on the scene. Also looking at the names and pictures of the young kids that were killed. Because it's incredibly important to remember that this happened to real people. Stories like this, they quickly become about numbers, statistics. You start seeing spreadsheets and you lose the human element. Children died, adults died, and every second we don't talk about how to prevent the next one of these happening, or we're doing all of these people a disservice. But that's where I'm gonna end the story in today's show. I want to pass a question off to you. What is your feeling around this? I know I normally do the subscribe, like thing. We don't need that today. If you've got people in your life today, if they're right there with you, give them a hug, let them know you love them. If they're not with you, send them a text, give them a phone call, a FaceTime, or whatever. Just love someone while you have them. The world is a stupid, horrifying place where you or someone you love may not be here tomorrow, so just love people while you have them. With that said, my name's Philip DeFranco. I love your faces, and I will see you tomorrow.